If you have not watched my first Koopagenics video, I recommend you do that first. I can't promise that it will make this video make sense, but it couldn't hurt. I also strongly recommend closed captioning because my voice is nasty. While I'm making bad Dragon Ball Z references, I'd like to talk about some proper dragons, some dragons. Fractail, Gobblegut, Caesar Dragon, or Czar Dragon, however that's pronounced. I like these too. I find these very funny, especially in lieu of everything else I've said, because for the longest time, Bowser doesn't employ any real dragons or any bigger dragons than himself, anything more draconic than himself. I don't know if he's got the ability or the access. That's an entirely different bag of cats, but the Shadow Queen uses dragons. Smithy had a dragon. Bowser faces dragons in his alien opposition, and then, around the time Mario Galaxy 2 happens, he has begun to tame his own dragons. He has taken it up a step. He has gone further and achieved what his previous enemies have. And he's got a number of dragons at this point. Like, he whips out quite a few. He makes a show of it. And that makes sense. Like, I like that because it implies that he felt challenged. He was the big man on campus. He was the Koopa, the dragon. And then he saw his enemies from out of nowhere, using dragons even more dragony than him. And he said, you know what? I can do that too. And then he did. And that's Bowser. Before I forget, Chargin' Shucks and Sumo Bros may be further evidence for genetic variation, regional differences, that sort of thing. Both of them have that snout face thing going on, and both of them originated in Mario World, which could be a coincidence, or it could suggest that they are native to that area. Maybe they were part of a different chaotic, war-based reptilian tribe that got subsumed by Bowser's more powerful Koopa clan. It could also help explain why the Chargin' Shucks look like football players, because, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just an aesthetic choice. Maybe that was just their gimmick. Like, they just really like sports. I know it's because they're protecting a football style goal, but like there was not a whole lot of reason to make the goals look like football goals, except to put a football man in front of it. And there's not a lot of reason to put a football man in front of it, except to make it look like you see what my problem. It's easy to assume that the Koopa Kingdom is a kingdom because it's right there in its name, right? And Bowser's a king, and Peach is a princess, and Daisy's a princess. But Daisy's an empress at minimum. Peach is probably some kind of genuine authority. I can't remember the last time we saw even a passing reference to her having a father. Never mind the idea of an actual king of the Mushroom Kingdom. And Mario's obviously not just a plumber in the sense that we view plumbers. He's an adventurer. He's a hero. He's a knight. He's a lot of things that are wrapped into that terminology. Words don't mean the same thing there that they mean here. And that's not even just a Mario thing. That's like a Nintendo thing. There's an old story, I want to say from around when Metroid Prime was being developed, about how people at Nintendo didn't actually understand bounty hunters. Like, they didn't know what a bounty hunter did. Someone suggested a game where Samus goes around hunting bounties, and everybody at Nintendo was like, what? Why would she do that? They just thought it sounded cool. And I think that logic applies to a lot of Mario franchise type stuff. Titles are just titles. Princesses are princesses because everybody likes princesses, but it's not necessarily indicative of a character's role or their job description or place in life or really anything. Bowser's empire and armies and followers probably amount to both more and less than what one would normally call a kingdom. Like a lot of things, I think it's more complicated than that. I mean, what even are the Koopalings? Miyamoto has said that they're definitely not Bowser's kids. So they're generals? They're, I don't know, cousins? This is why I believe the similarity to Bowser has something to do with it, because why else would these guys be in these positions? Like, what's so special about the Koopalings if it's not just raw monarchy or nepotism at play? There's clearly some aspect, some feature of these creatures that sees them paid the big bucks while the sharper beaked Koopas are stuck on the front line. And I think that's really what it comes down to. If you watched part one, you watched part two. This is where this all kind of comes together. Is there's not a lot of explanation for these guys beyond the surface level, which is why I think the surface level is so important. Roy Koopa is probably not a 5-star tactician, but he big, he bulky, he tough, and he's got that Dragon Maul thing that Bowser does. He's got a similar body build, the color scheme, the yellow body with the not yellow head. Basically, he's like a small reject Bowser, and I think that's really how you climb the ranks in Bowser's army. You bear more in common with Bowser than your competitors. Anyway, I'm gonna hang this up before I think of more and accidentally turn this into a 3-parter. We're just gonna leave it here. Like and subscribe. I'm bad at YouTube, and that's all I have to say. Thank you, and good night.